Hi everyone. Once again, I want to apologize for the delay in uploading this video. I just wanted to make sure it contained a lot of the clips that will help you with the specific issues that you've been having with your flat work. Once we iron out all these details, and I know it's been hard for some of you, I can guarantee you, you're not going to have to worry about your dog's performance on a course. I rather deal with all the stress and confusion on the flat before I ever put them on the real obstacle. That's not to say you can always come back to this training. Always come back to flat work. This is something that is going to last for your dog's career. You can always up the criteria, make it a little bit more difficult, and prove new things every day just with a simple send to a target. So what I'm going to show you next is what you're going to be working on this next week is we're going to start working on your board work. I need you to get some equipment for this next step. So here's the list. You're going to need a 12 by 4 unpainted board. This board, I want it unpainted because I want the dogs to be able to slide. I want the dogs to learn how to shift their weight to the rear so they understand how fast is too fast and how can they come to a complete stop. I need some garden gates, preferably. I like the green ones because the dogs don't see them that clearly. They're there just to keep the dog's rear in position. They really don't serve a purpose other than that. Here's a little clip of what you're gonna need. There's a 12 by 4 board. If it's a little bit longer, it's not a big deal. If it's a little bit shorter, it's not a big deal. All it's doing is putting what you have been working on a location. The gates, as you can see, are green, so they're not very visible to the dog, and they're just gonna help keep the dog in place. Keep your distance short in this first few repetitions. What I want is for the dog to focus ahead once again, so I don't really want a lot of space in between you and the target. You can put your dog on a leash, you can keep restraining your dog by the collar, you can even walk them all the way up to the target if you need to. As you can see, I'm holding the restraining legend just by the chest, but I'm waiting until she's looking ahead and then releasing her. Just make sure you keep that distance as short as possible at first. You can work on your run-bys, sending, and going lateral from this short distance. The position how you start your dog is not that important. You can sit them, but I really truly rather you just restrain them. If you want to do a lead out, then obviously you have to leave them in a position, but I don't really care which one. What I want is for the dog to look ahead and for you not to be in the same location every time you give him a treat. Vary your location as much as possible. You can do your sends just like you did on the flat, but now the dog has a location. They always have to get on the board and stop on the board. The gates are there to keep their rears in place when you do lateral sends. Make sure that when you say yes, good dog, ideally you want your dog to be looking ahead. As you can see, my dog tends to look back at me, but this is something that I can fix with just releasing ahead to a jump like you see in this next clip, or just releasing to a toy like you'll see in a little bit. Just make sure you can add some of your handling cues to this. You can do a wrap, you can just do a pull, you can push, you can do a lot of other things, but what I want is for the dog, see there she made a mistake, is for the dog to understand that because I'm now standing next to a jump, that doesn't mean I'm cueing it. I'm cueing it after I release you with okay. Your verbals are very important. I want you to be able to mark when they hit, yes, good girl, go back and reward, go back to your original position, and then say okay. All right, we're going to see that one more time. Make sure you're aware of your verbals. I'm going to be paying attention from now on your clips, so don't mute them because I want to hear what you're saying. I want to hear what you release on. Your dog hits, yes, good dog. Go and reward. You can move to a different location. You can go back to where you originally started and then say okay and release forward. The dog can only release on the verbal okay. Once the dog looks back at me, she's already in position. Again, this is not ideal, but as long as the dog keeps driving to the target looking forward, and I'm happy, because then I can just really work on this with the sending and the toy ahead, just to mark when the head stays ahead. She's self-released in that repetition. So they'll start anticipating what you're doing. So, and then that's just one way to prove your verbals. Make sure you say different things, move to different locations. I don't want you in the exact same place, or give them the treat from the exact same place at all times. Just make sure you're as loose as possible. You can do rear crosses. Every possible scenario that you can imagine that you have encountered in a course, you can practice just with this board. And you can practice releasing to the toy as well. It's very important that you always go back to the original place when you came to a complete stop. Don't go back to the dog, give him a cookie, and release him from there, because that's only going to reinforce that the dog can only be released when you're by them. And that's going to slow their contacts down, because if they need to get you to come close to be able to release. So if you go back and reward, just make sure you go back to your original position. And you don't always have to give him a cookie for every repetition. You can just mark it, release, and just give him a cookie after. Not every reinforcement is based on food or the toy. This is my dog Saga. She's a 10-year-old Border Collie who was retired from agility due to an injury, but I remember that I had a lot of issues with her in the beginning because she wanted to look at me more than anything. More than the food and more than the toy ahead, she just wanted to stay looking at me. So it's very important when you work on this with your dog, try to wait them out and only release them when they're looking ahead at the target. You can warm them up by doing some run-bys, meaning go past their target, and that's going to keep their head straight. Try not to make a lot of eye contact when they're doing this. You want to look at your target or maybe 3 feet in front of them. I'm trying to wait her out. Once she glances over to the target, then she gets her release. If the dog starts slowing down, you want to do some quick releases. The second they get down there, quick release to the food. Don't make them wait too long and for eye contact, because then they're going to get bored. So just make sure you're aware of all these little things that are happening, because we train them unconsciously. If we constantly say, yes, good dog, when the dog gets to position and looks back, we're rewarding, we are marking the dog looking back and not looking ahead to what's coming. And the dog can only perform the behavior if they're looking back at you. Well, they're not going to be able to do it on their own. So make sure you work all the positions and only release when the dog is looking ahead. Another way to prove this, you can also, proof your positions, but also get in your dog's way. I mean, don't be afraid to let them make a mistake. You can also do quick releases to get them to look ahead. A quick release is very different than an early release. An early release is when the dog is not yet on on-to-off position and hears a release word, an okay. A quick release is done as soon as the dog gets into position. I'm trying to make her break in that clip, trying to lure her with the food, see if she understands that she can only move. She came off the board, so she was incorrect. So no harm done. I'm just going to put her back and repeat the exercise. If the dog makes a mistake, there's no problem. That's how they learn. They learn by making mistakes, all right? She's not very keen on food. She just wants to be released, which works to my advantage because she has to work harder and concentrate more to stop because she doesn't care about the food. She just cares about running. Try, like I said it before, try to look to your target or maybe in between at the ground. If the dog doesn't offer to look ahead right away, just break them and start again. Don't wait too long. I would say don't wait more than 10 seconds. If you don't get the eye contact you want, just restart the exercise and get them off. Because if not, we're just marking and training them looking at us, which being herding dogs, they do like eye contact. If it gets too hard and you cannot get your dog to break eye contact, I would really suggest you do a lot of quick releases. Meaning as soon as the dog touches that target, release ahead to your food. Just like she just did in the clip. As soon as she got there, she heard an okay. And every now and then you can delay the okay. Let's say out of 10 repetitions, you can do 7 quick releases, 3 holds. You know, just vary how soon you say okay, so that they're anticipating it, but still waiting for it. And there's a fine line between the two. If your dog hits and leaves without you saying okay, that's wrong. If your dog is not in 2 on 2 off position and you say okay, that is wrong also. So make sure you're patient, wait for your behavior, and release ahead. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Just tell them okay, bring them back, and start over. The only way we're going to get them to understand this is if they make mistakes. And I want them to drive to position, so I don't want to slow them down to be perfect because then I'm not going to get the speed and the drive that I want. If you need to take a break and play tug with your dog, that's fine too. We just need them to stay focused and stay happy during this exercise. I don't want to, this is not brain surgery for them. It's just a very simple, just like sending them to a table, you're sending them to a position at the end of the board. But the target is far out, their reward is far out, that they still have to do something before they get to the reward. I hope all these exercises will help you in your next step. I look forward to seeing all your videos. If you have any questions or doubts along the way, please email me. I'm going to be out of town, but I will have my iPad and my phone with me, so I will be accessible hopefully. All right, thank you, and thank you for your patience. Bye-bye. Good luck training.